I swear I'll kill her one day,
Awana shouted, grabbing the broom from Mfoniso's hand. Try it and see what happens. Mfoniso snapped, pushing her back. The pot of water crashed to the floor. Splash! Mama Ekaette rushed in. Again? Are you girls cursed? Papa Essien burst through the door, face dark with anger. Enough! This madness must stop! But the madness had only just begun. In the peaceful village of Obio Ubo, where roosters crowed before sunrise and children fetched water before going to school, lived two sisters named Awana and Mfoniso. They were born to Papa Essien, a well-respected palm wine tapper, and Mama Ekaette, who sold akara at the market square.
Awana was the elder by just 1 year. She was tall, quiet, and always serious. Mfoniso, on the other hand, was shorter, cheerful, and very talkative. At first glance, many thought they were close. After all, they lived under the same roof, shared the same parents, and ate from the same pot. But inside that house, something was wrong, something deep and bitter. The two girls hated each other. From the time they were little, they could never agree on anything. If Mama Ekaette bought 2 dresses in different colors, one red, one green, each girl would fight for the one the other picked. If Papa Essien gave them 1 mango each, one would complain that the other's mango was bigger. They quarreled every single day. One evening, when Awana was about 6 years old and Mfoniso was 5, Mama Ekaette gave them pop and beans for dinner. Before Mama could finish washing the plates, loud voices filled the room. "She gave you more beans than me," Awana shouted. "No, you are just greedy," Mfoniso yelled back. And just like that, the bowls ended up on the floor. The food was wasted and both girls were sent to bed hungry. But even in the dark room, they continued to argue, whispering insults at each other through the night. Their fights grew worse as they got older. Sometimes they pulled each other's hair. Sometimes they tore each other's clothes. Sometimes they just sat in silence, their faces filled with hatred, their hearts too heavy to speak. The villagers noticed. "Awana and Mfoniso again?" one man said as he passed their house during a loud quarrel. "Those girls must be cursed," replied an old woman carrying firewood. Some said the girls were not true sisters. They whispered that maybe Papa Essien had one child with another woman before marrying Mama Ekaette. Others believed the girls were twins, separated in the womb, cursed to never love each other. But Papa Essien always shook his head. "They are my blood. I watched them both come into this world. There is no secret," he would say. Still, nothing he or Mama Ekaette did could stop the pain between their daughters. They tried everything. They bought matching clothes so no one would feel jealous. They cooked their favorite meals and asked them to serve each other. They sent them to the same school, made them fetch water together, and even asked the church pastor to pray for peace in the home.
Nothing worked.
One Sunday after church, the pastor visited their home. He sat with Awana and Mfoniso under the big mango tree in the compound. "My daughters," he began gently, "God made sisters to be a blessing to each other. You must love one another." But Awana looked away. Mfoniso rolled her eyes. "Even the pastor can't help them," Mama Ekaette said later that night, wiping tears from her eyes. Still, the parents didn't give up. They held hands and prayed every night, asking God to touch the hearts of their daughters. But even God seemed silent. Awana would wake up early and sweep the compound neatly, but once she left, Mfoniso would walk through the swept ground with dirty feet, making a mess again. If Mfoniso cooked and kept some rice for later, Awana would eat from it and say she was hungry. Their home was always tense. The air felt heavy with anger. Papa Essien, once a joyful man, now returned home quietly. He would drop his palm wine keg by the door, eat in silence, and go to bed early. One day, Mama Ekaette fell sick. She lay on her mat, her eyes dull and her hands too weak to cook. Papa Essien called both girls. "Your mother is not well," he said softly. "This is the time to stand together, help each other, take care of her." For a short moment, Awana and Mfoniso stood still, their faces blank. That evening, they cooked together, fetched water for Mama, and even helped wash her clothes. It was the first time in years they didn't fight. Mama Ekaette smiled weakly. Maybe things will change, she whispered. But it didn't last. 2 days later, Awana accused Mfoniso of being lazy, saying she did more work. Mfoniso shouted that Awana always wanted to act like the elder and command everyone. That night, the shouting returned. The door slammed. Mama Ekaette cried again. Even the neighbors felt sorry. "May God help that family," one woman said as she closed her window. Yet nobody knew the true reason why the girls hated each other, not even the girls themselves. It was like a bitter seed had been planted in their hearts before they were born. Sometimes Awana would sit alone thinking, "Why do I feel this way about her?" Sometimes Mfoniso would cry at night wondering, "Why can't I love my own sister?" But the answers never came. And so in the quiet village of Obio Ubo, the story of two sisters who couldn't love each other continued, painful, confusing, and full of silence that spoke louder than words. It was a cloudy morning in the village of Obio Ubo. The sky looked tired. The sun refused to shine fully. The wind was slow and the birds sang quietly. Something in the air felt strange. The villagers noticed it, but no one could explain what was wrong. At the edge of the village, near the thick forest path, an old woman arrived. No one had seen her before. Her hair was long, gray, and messy. Her clothes were old, but her eyes were bright, too bright for her age. She walked slowly, leaning on a wooden staff, and stopped at the village square. Children playing nearby ran away. Some adults came out to watch her from a distance. The old woman raised her hand and spoke in a voice that echoed like thunder, though she was not shouting. "The spirits are not sleeping, she said. "Something is hidden. One sister is keeping a secret. If it is not revealed, peace will never return." Then she turned and walked away, disappearing into the forest path. Nobody followed her. That evening, the whole village was talking. People gathered at the stream, in front of their homes, even near the church compound. "Did you see the old woman? Who is she? Which sisters was she talking about?" Of course, many people already had one answer in mind: Awana and Mfoniso. "They're the only sisters in this village who hate each other," said Madame Uduak, the midwife. "It must be about them," agreed her friend Uncle Bassi. The next day, strange things began to happen. First, a black feather fell from the sky. It wasn't from any bird the villagers knew. It was long, smooth, and too dark to be normal. It landed right in front of Mama Ekaette's door. She picked it up and dropped it quickly. It felt hot, like fire. Then, later that week, a clay water pot in their compound broke, without anyone touching it. Mama Ekaette had kept that pot for over 10 years. It never cracked before. But that morning, while she was inside cooking, a loud sound came from outside. Smash! She ran out. The pot was in pieces. Nobody was near it. The final sign came on a Saturday morning. Right in the center of the village square, where people usually gathered to dance or talk, a goat was found lying upside down. It was still alive, but it looked weak and confused. Its eyes were wide open, its tongue hung out, but the strangest thing, no one claimed it. Not even one person in the village said, "That goat belongs to me." The village chief, Chief Atika, called for a meeting. Everyone gathered under the large Iroko tree. Even children sat quietly. "We cannot ignore these signs," the chief said. "Let us call Adora, the village seer. She will tell us what the spirits are saying." Adora was a respected old woman who lived in a small hut near the river. She wore long beads, white wrappers, and never spoke unless it was very important. That evening she was brought to the meeting. She sat on a small wooden stool. A bowl of water was placed before her. She looked into the water, closed her eyes, and began to hum softly. The wind grew stronger. Then she opened her eyes and spoke. "There is a battle between two spirits in this village, two sisters. They are tied by blood but broken by secrets. The fight between them is not just in their hearts, it is now in the spirit world." Gasps filled the air. Everyone looked at Awana and Mfoniso, who were sitting on opposite sides of the crowd. Neither looked surprised. Awana's jaw was tight. Mfoniso's hands were shaking slightly, but she tried to hide it. Adora reached into her bag and brought out something small. It was a cracked black stone. She held it up for all to see. This stone is now tied to their truth. When it finally breaks, the hidden thing will come out. The whole village will see. She handed the stone to Mama Ekaette and said, "Keep this safe. When the stone breaks on its own, return it to me. Do nothing to force it. The spirits will decide the time." Mama Ekaette held the stone with both hands, like a mother carrying her baby. It was warm, too warm for a stone. After the meeting, everyone returned to their homes, but fear followed them. That night, Obio Ubo was quiet. Too quiet. Crickets stopped singing. Dogs did not bark. Even the wind moved softly, as if it was afraid to make noise. In their room, Awana and Mfoniso sat far apart. Neither spoke. Awana stared at the wall. Mfoniso looked down at her hands. For the first time, their hatred didn't lead to shouting. Something heavier had entered the house. "Do you think it's about us?" Mfoniso whispered finally. Awana didn't answer, but her eyes were red and her breathing was heavy. Mama Ekaette stood by the door, holding the black stone in her hand. Papa Essien sat beside her, worried and tired. "Please," Mama said softly, "if you are hiding anything, speak now. Let us fix it as a family." But the girls remained silent. Days passed, then weeks. Every day, Mama checked the stone. It stayed the same, cracked, warm, and quiet.
But the home felt different. The peace that never lived there was now waiting for something to change.
In the village, people began to treat the girls differently. Some avoided them, some watched them closely, whispering whenever they passed. The girls still fought sometimes, but not with the same fire. It was as if the black stone was watching them too. The days in Obio Ubo grew heavier. The black stone remained in Mama Ekaette's room, wrapped in white cloth, resting on a wooden stool near the family altar. Every day she checked it. Every night she prayed beside it. Awana and Mfoniso still lived under the same roof, but their hatred had changed. It no longer came with loud arguments or broken plates. Now it was quiet, slow, and cold. They barely looked at each other. They only spoke when they had to, and even then their voices were dry like old sand. The villagers watched from a distance. "The spirits are waiting," old Adora had said, but waiting for what? No one knew. Then came the night. The sky was dark with no stars. The moon hid behind thick clouds. The wind was wild. It rushed through trees, knocked down basins, and shook rooftops. It felt like something was about to happen. In the small house, Papa Essien locked the door and sat by the fire. Mama Ekaette brought out the stone, as she did every night. But this time, the cloth around it was hot, very hot. She gasped and dropped it on the floor. Crack! The sound echoed across the room. The family rushed forward. The black stone had split in two, right down the middle. Everyone froze. Papa Essien picked up the pieces. They were no longer warm. They were now cold, ice cold. Mama's eyes filled with tears. "It has happened," she whispered. Just then, a strange silence filled the room. Even the wind stopped blowing outside. It felt like the house itself was listening. Papa looked at his daughters. "Mfoniso, Awana," he said slowly. "It is time. One of you is hiding something. Speak." Awana's face was pale. Mfoniso held her chest like her heart was breaking. Nobody spoke for a long time. Then suddenly Awana knelt on the floor. Her body shook, her lips trembled, her eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Papa leaned forward. "Sorry? For what?" I lied," Awana said, her voice barely a sound. Mama Ekaette came closer. "Lied? About what, my child?" Awana broke down in tears. She sobbed loudly, her whole body shaking. Then she looked at Mfoniso. "I'm the reason our baby brother died," she cried. "Not Mfoniso." Gasps filled the room. Papa stood still. Mama dropped to her knees. "You, what?" Papa whispered. Awana wiped her eyes, but the tears kept coming. Her voice was broken, but she forced the words out.
It happened a long time ago. I think I was 7. Mfoniso was 6. Mama had gone to the market. You were in the bush, Papa. I was holding baby Efik while Mfoniso played outside. But I got angry.
Her lips trembled again. Mfoniso had worn my sandals without asking. I was angry. I shouted at her. Then she ran away. I was still angry when the baby started crying. I tried to carry him properly, but he slipped from my hands. He hit his head on the ground. He stopped crying. Mama screamed. Papa grabbed the chair and sat down. I was so scared, Awana continued. I didn't know what to do. I heard Mfoniso coming back. So I quickly placed the baby on the mat. When you both came home and asked what happened, I told you Mfoniso dropped him by mistake. She broke into loud sobs. I didn't want to be beaten. I didn't want Mama to hate me. So I lied. Mama Ekaette covered her mouth and wept. Papa Essien bowed his head. But Mfoniso sat still. Her eyes were wide. Her hands shook. Her lips quivered. All those years, she whispered. She turned slowly to look at her parents. You believed her, she said, her voice rising. You believed her and hated me. No, Mfoniso. Mama tried to speak. But Mfoniso stood up. You didn't even ask me what happened. You called me careless. You beat me. You stopped letting me carry babies. You stopped hugging me the same way. Tears poured down her face. I thought I killed my brother. I thought I was a monster. I hated myself. Every time I saw Mama cry, I thought it was my fault. I couldn't even sleep at night. Awana cried louder. I was afraid, she said. Every time I tried to tell the truth, the words refused to come. The lie grew bigger. I didn't know how to fix it. You destroyed me, Mfoniso said in a shaking voice. You stole my parents' love. You made me bitter. You turned me into someone full of pain. The room was silent. The only sound was the rain beginning to fall outside. Then Papa Essien stood up. He walked to Mfoniso and held her hands. My daughter, we failed you, he said. We should have listened to you. We should have looked deeper. Mama came forward crying. I'm sorry, my child, she whispered. I let my tears blind me. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I was wrong. Mfoniso looked away. Her heart was heavy. She had carried pain for so long, she didn't know how to drop it. Awana crawled to her knees. Please, she said, forgive me. I have suffered too. I hated myself every day. I couldn't even enjoy the love I stole. It didn't make me happy. It made me sick inside.
Mfoniso looked at her sister.
You ruined my life, she said, her voice full of tears. But then her voice softened. I see now. You were a child too, and you were scared. She looked at her mother and father. And you too were broken. She stood still for a moment. Then slowly, she opened her arms. Awana crawled into her arms and cried like a baby. Mama Ekaette held them both. Papa joined. All four of them wept in silence. The truth had come out. In that small living room where secrets live for too long, the words Awana spoke shook every wall. The cries of pain that followed were not just from Mfoniso. They came from Papa Essien, Mama Ekaette, and even from deep inside Awana herself. Outside, the rain fell softly now. The angry wind had calmed. The night had grown still. It was like the village was listening and weeping too. When morning came, it brought a different kind of silence. Word spread fast. The village woke up to whispers. Did you hear what happened in Papa Essien's house last night? The black stone broke. The truth was told. Awana was the one who drained the baby. Some were shocked. Others had guessed for years. But no one laughed. No one mocked. The village of Obio Ubo, known for gossip, became very quiet that day. Even the market women lowered their voices. Chief Okan, the head of the Elders' Council, came to visit. He sat down on the family's wooden bench, facing Papa Essien. He looked tired, not just in body, but in spirit. I remember the day the boy died, he said. It broke your family. We all saw it. But none of us knew the real wound was a lie. Papa bowed his head. I failed my daughters. Chief Okan looked at Awana and Mfoniso, who were sitting quietly beside each other. You both were children. You didn't know how deep your actions would cut, he said gently. But now you know. And that knowing, that's where healing begins. That night, Mama Ekaette lit a small oil lamp in front of their family altar. She placed the two pieces of the black stone on a small wooden plate. Then she whispered a prayer. "Thank you, Lord. The truth has come. The pain is being washed away. Let peace never leave this home again." In another part of the room, Mfoniso sat by the window. She looked outside at the moon, which now shone fully in the sky. Its light touched the earth gently, like a mother touching her sleeping baby.
Awana joined her quietly.
They didn't speak at first, just sat. For the first time in many years, they weren't afraid of each other. They weren't planning how to avoid one another or how to fight next. They just sat, as sisters. After some time, Awana spoke. "Do you remember the time we tried to climb the mango tree and both fell?" Mfoniso chuckled softly. "You blamed me, again." They both laughed. It was a small laugh, but real, like the first drop of rain before a full shower. "I've missed this," Awana said. Mfoniso nodded. "Me too." One morning, something beautiful happened. Mfoniso came out wearing a bright yellow wrapper, her favorite color, which she stopped wearing years ago because Awana once teased her for it. She helped Mama sweep the compound. Awana joined later, carrying water from the stream. They worked together, not talking too much, just smiling, helping, being there. A small boy passed and asked, "Are you two really sisters?" Mfoniso laughed. "Yes, we are." The boy blinked. "You don't fight anymore?" Awana bent down and said gently, "We used to fight because we were hurt, but we're trying again." The boy nodded slowly. "Okay." Then he ran off to play. The two sisters stood there, still smiling. They had a long way to go. Forgiveness was not magic. It would not erase every memory, but it was a seed. And now, they had planted it. Every day would water it. Every choice to listen. Every small act of love. Every meal shared in peace. Every old photo they looked at without tears. That evening, they sat together under the mango tree in front of their house. They watched the sunset paint the sky orange and gold. Awana spoke softly. "I hope we can be real sisters now." Mfoniso smiled. "We already are." The wind blew gently. The village bell rang for evening prayer. Mama called them in. And for the first time in many, many years, they walked in together.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a wonderful comment.